Welcome back. This is Carlos from the Miami Realty Rundown, and I'm here with.
Ideal.
So today we're going to talk about behind the scenes. So our last episode was more an emphasis on first-time buyers and what kind of the process and what they should expect. But now we're going to talk to you about what we do behind the scenes, actually, because a lot of you don't know. They don't really understand what's involved on the realtor's end as to when they're representing a buyer or when they're representing a seller. So we're trying to give you a little bit of
A rundown.
a rundown, perfect, on what we do really, because I'm sure a lot of you think, oh, these people make a lot of money
And they don't do
and
anything.
they don't do anything. All they do is show houses. No, it's not
Mm-mm.
that. That's the least part of it, actually. So okay, so
Let's start with negotiating.
perfect. So obviously we run our comps, right? Our comps are we compare the house that you're interested in with other similar houses that are in the area that have sold within the last 3 to 6 months.
Mm.
And we also look at the ones that are currently for sale as well. We try to compare apples to apples. So if the house you're interested in is a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,500 square feet, within this particular neighborhood, then we're going to look at other houses that are 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, 1,500 square feet in the same neighborhood. If we can't find it, obviously we go a little bit further. But more than likely, there's enough activity in that neighborhood so that we can get you somewhat of a range as to what the property is worth.
Going back 6 months might be a little too much, right? In today's market, especially with a lot of the home prices coming down 10, 15,000. So
Yeah.
typically, we're safer with 3 months,
We're
right?
safer with 3 months.
Right.
That's actually a better looking
Right.
number, but 6 months is what the appraisers will use.
Right.
So we try and gauge what the appraiser is going to give for the value.
Right.
So that obviously when we place an offer, we all have the same opinion. Because appraisers or comps are basically an opinion of the market. It's not a set in stone price or
Correct.
value. So we give a range. I typically give my clients a range. So this property is worth between X and Y, and it'll sell for somewhere in between there.
A lot of times we look at remodeling is the
Yes.
home that you're looking into full blown remodeled, like
Mm-hmm.
head to toe. You don't have to do anything, just bring your toothbrush and move in.
Turnkey. Yeah.
Oh, right? Or is it something that is going to need a lot of money up front to
Yes.
kind of make it more personal and
Up to
more to
date.
your right
Right.
or to your standards, right?
Right.
And then that also plays a toll. Not that it's going to change the value by $100,000,
No.
but it does help and fluctuate the price.
So obviously we're going to look at does a house have impact windows?
Correct.
What's the age of the roof, more or less?
The AC.
The AC. Well, that's during the inspection. But I'm saying during the comps,
Oh yeah.
we're going to look at is it if the house you're looking at has impact windows but the other ones don't, then obviously it has a little bit more value, or vice versa. Does it have less value? The age of the roof. Did they do the kitchen? Is it updated?
Right.
Are the bathrooms updated? Does it have new floor? Does it still have carpeting or tile or wood or laminate? Because I don't use wood. So we look at all those kind of things, and then that's how we kind of guide you as to what the value is, so that you have an idea as to what you're going to pay for it.
Correct. Um, what else?
So then, well, obviously after we do that, we start negotiating with
Correct.
the other side. Now, in the negotiations, we have to use our experience, and we actually have, or we try to, have conversations with the other side. So if we're representing a buyer, we are going to have a conversation with that listing agent, and we're going to share our opinion and then see what feedback they give us. So, and then that way we can kind of get a feel, or at least I like to ask for, I don't know if you, I like to ask the listing agent, where does the seller stand? Are they firm? Are they flexible? Do they have a bottom line? A lot of them won't tell us if they have a
Yeah.
bottom line, but some of us give us more information than others,
Right.
and we kind of use that to tell you, okay, we start at this price, then we can come up, or don't because they're not going to take it. So we get a better feel for what the other side is looking for.
I find that if the home has been sitting on the market longer
Yes.
than what they would have liked, the other side will give us more information,
Yeah.
and they'll be a little bit more helpful as far as like
Absolutely.
how to come in or what to do,
Yes.
just to make work, right?
Right.
Because they want to sell the home too.
Right.
So they're willing to cooperate a little bit more with us and our client, if the home has been sitting on the market for longer than what they would have liked.
Right. And now is a perfect time for buyers.
Yes.
A lot of sellers are willing to negotiate. So even if they put it at a certain price, it's been, a lot of properties have been sitting for
Yep.
3 months, sometimes 6 months, sometimes almost a year.
Yes.
And yes, even though a lot of owners nowadays can sit back and wait because they have a low interest rate and they're not really in a rush, but if they put it on the market, it's because they want to sell it.
Yep.
So otherwise, they wouldn't have put it on the market. There's very few people that kind of test the market, and if they're testing the market, it's not for a year. They'll put it up, they see it won't sell, and they'll take it off.
Exactly.
So all those are indications to us that there's room to work, and we do our best to kind of find that sweet spot for us to make a deal and to benefit either the buyer or actually benefit the seller.
Correct. After that, it's a bunch of paperwork.
It's
Really,
a lot of paperwork.
a
So
lot of paperwork.
so then we start, obviously, if we got to start talking with the inspector.
Yep.
We got to show up at the inspection. A lot of realtors don't. I do. I know
love
Ideal
to
does.
show up.
Only because you get a feel for what they're looking at.
Yes.
And you ask a lot of questions, right? How do you see the roof? How do you see this? How do you see that? Do you see any issues? Oh no. And if you've worked with that inspector before, which we try and use the same ones, I usually I have about 3 that I work with, just because
Yep.
if one's not available, I call the other,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
usually the price is an issue with the buyer.
Right.
You kind of know who to work with, and you can recommend people. But you do ask all those questions, and that way you can, once before that report comes in, you can start having that conversation. Um, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, this is what they kind of saw. We're going to see it in the report, but these are more or less what you're going to expect for issues. The AC doesn't really work well; it needs to be cleaned, or the roof has certain cracks. And then that, and again, our experience comes into play, whether those are really things you should be concerned about.
Right.
Because if the roof is 10 years old, it's going to have cracks. Now, those cracks, major cracks, where there's leakage. Now, that inspector has to be in the attic, and will have to tell us whether they see leakage or not.
Correct.
And then maybe we have to then call a roofer and figure out exactly what's wrong with that roof.
Exactly.
So those are all things that we obviously guide you in, that we do behind the scenes, and to help you.
Yeah. So my last inspection, as Carlos mentioned, we always go, and the buyer went as well,
Mm-hmm.
and the fiance and the dad and the sister, a bunch of people showed up. Yeah, to go look at the house for the first time and so forth. The inspector was great, a company that I've used before too, and he did a really good job at explaining to them what the major points
Yes.
were and what were the minimal items, that you can overlook, right?
Yes.
For example, cracks on tiles,
Mm-hmm.
a little small crack on the wall for, I don't know, I guess we're kids in the house and they hit like a corner.
Yes.
So that's, it's makeup, right? Exactly. So they were worried about certain things that he was able to let them know it's okay.
Yes.
So it's important, when you said that, you use the same company, that's important too, because you have a certain relationship established, right? And confianza, right?
Yes.
How do you say that in English? Confidence between, the relationship you guys have, right?
Yes.
And they help. It's a really big relief working with people that you've worked with before,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can not only help you but your client feel more at peace with what's going on with the home.
Yeah, because there's major issues and cosmetic.
Of course.
Cosmetic you can fix, and paint is paint. You're gonna paint probably anyway, because if they have a tan paint on the wall and you don't like it, you want white, you're gonna paint the wall anyway.
Exactly.
So there are certain things that are classified as cosmetic. I wouldn't worry about those.
Yeah.
Those are everyday things that you're going to have to do even while you're living in the property. Every so on, you're going to have to do cosmetic work. I paint every 3 years, unfortunately, especially with the kids and the dog, and it's just like horrible.
Same.
I don't know how many coats of paint my house has.
You can peel and count.
You can peel and count. Yeah, it's horrible, and I'm sure you guys do it too. But those are the kind of things that we look for.
Yeah.
And if we have to get other people involved, we'll get them involved.
Yeah.
And obviously after the inspection,
We can start negotiating certain things.
right.
Yeah.
So like right now, I'm doing one where again it's mostly cosmetic, and but the seller is actually willing to do some of the things. So they're removing the TV mounts. They're actually, well, they have to repair the wall if they're
Right.
removing them, but they're going to paint and they're going to do touch-up paint
Oh, nice.
throughout the house.
Yep.
Also, some of the baseboards in the kitchen are damaged from walking up to the kitchen and kicking it. They're going to change. Hopefully, they're going to change those. So those are all usually sellers won't do it.
No, I was about to say that's very nice of
It's
them.
very nice
They
of
will.
them, right?
That's you're buying the home as is, and they're selling it
Correct.
as is, and that's makeup.
That's makeup. So chances are they're going to do that as well. We're negotiating that, but that's part of it.
Right.
So, and then after that, we got to deal with the lender.
Yes.
So I got to chase after you if you're the buyer. I got to be on top of the lender, make sure they're doing what they're doing. It's the appraisal ordered, even though it should be the buyer's responsibility.
Right, but we can't leave it all.
But we
up to
can't leave
them.
it up to the buyer. We can't.
Especially if you're a first-time home buyer, you don't know these
don't know.
deadlines.
Right.
You know, like
Well,
once
you
the
don't
offer,
understand the significance or the importance of it.
of course, and once everything is signed, everything has a specific time frame
Right.
for this to close on the day that we're supposed to close.
Right.
So, once we, like Carlos said, once we have the appraisal, we're looking for all these other documents that we need. We're talking to the lender.
Mhm.
Do we have the loan approval coming up soon? How's that going? What else do you need? How can I help?
Yes.
Whatever we can put our hands in to take a workload off of you, we'll take on too. Title company. Calling the title company, hey, how's it going? How's title looking? Any liens, any open permits? And sometimes we'll find, and most people don't know, when they have dogs and they're not keeping up with their is it the shots or the
rabies
rabies?
shots.
They get penalties
You get
for
penalties
that.
for not
And
having
that's
the rabies shots.
attached to the home. And most people don't know that.
Don't know that. And then come closing, you're like, you have 3 or 4, 65. They're not a lot, but they're like $65 penalties.
Yeah.
And you have 3 or 4 of them, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know that." Well, yeah, you do. And guess what? You're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
So
Surprise.
Or you can, if we let them know ahead of time, then they can go argue with the city, or the county.
Correct.
But that's up to them. That's a different story. Other than that, we're also, making sure the appraisal is scheduled. I think we talked about that. Going to that as well as a buyer's rep, or as
taking comparables to
right.
help.
We try. Some appraisers don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
They're like, no, I don't want anything. But there are a lot that will take your comps or our comps, and then we'll try and make sure that it appraises for that amount, or at least close to that amount,
Correct.
so that you don't have an issue with financing.
Mm-hmm.
So, or the deal doesn't fall through.
Correct.
Right.
What else?
An association.
Our lovely association.
Our lovely, yes, they're the best. So 5 days from when you sign the contract, guess what? You got to submit an application to get approved by the association. There's things involved with that. We got to talk to them. We got to make sure how much it is, what they're going to require, how they're going to accept it. Some of them accept it by email. Some you got to drive to their location. Some you got to do it on a web portal. The web portal is the best.
Yes.
Because I don't have to drive it.
Tenant evaluation.
Yeah.
Done.
Exactly. And you can upload all your documents through there, and it's much easier. But some of them require you to drive there, and you got to print every single piece of paper, bring it over with a money order, pay for it. And if it's a condo, you need a condo questionnaire.
Yep.
What's a condo questionnaire?
Oh, a very tedious paper that has everything about the condo,
Yes.
reserves,
legal actions.
everything. Like
How many tenants they have.
the whole demographics of the condo
Yes.
is in this condo questionnaire, and it's not cheap.
And it's not cheap. It's usually about $250. And that's one thing that the lender needs if it's a condo. And it doesn't. Condos don't. By the way, condos don't need to be apartments. There are townhouses
Yes,
that are condominiums or considered condominium associations,
with a condo association.
and you need condo questionnaires. So you can't finance that kind of townhouse the same way you finance the traditional type of townhouse.
If it's a homeowners association,
Right.
it's very different.
It's very different. So yes, that's another tedious process.
So let's actually maybe we can talk about the difference between them, right? Like a homeowners association, what it includes,
Mm-hmm.
and a condo association, because they cover very different things, right? A condo association will cover the roof for the building,
Right.
um, the asphalt, the exterior paint, exterior insurance, and you only really need insurance for
Yeah,
indoors,
which is
right?
typically why condos maintenance fees
It's
are
much more
high
expensive,
because they do
correct?
cover a lot more. They cover, yeah, like
If they have a
Adil said.
pool,
Yes, they deal with the pool, common areas, parking, yeah, the asphalt, the gate if they have a gate, if they have a guard,
correct.
the roof, the structure, the balconies, um,
Everything, right?
everything. They
Everything,
cover
everything
everything.
exterior.
The only thing the owner needs to worry about in a condo is
Indoor insurance.
from the studs in.
Mm-hmm.
So sheetrock really in, and that you have insurance for that. And we can talk about that another day.
Yeah.
But that's really the only thing that the owners of a condominium have to worry about. The association worries about the rest. Now in an HOA, all they really worry about is the streets, lights, and clubhouse.
That's it.
You are responsible for your own structure, your roof, your
Everything.
everything. If you have a pool, that's your pool. If they allow you to have a pool, and if they have a lake, well, obviously the
They
association
maintain the
takes care of the
lake,
lake.
and they
Um,
the common grass area.
right. So yeah, the sidewalks, all that. So that's part of the common area, and so that's why it's usually cheaper
Right.
or much cheaper. But then it costs you more on the insurance side.
Correct.
Um,
So
so
then back to the paperwork.
so yes. So in dealing with the association, I'm closing actually Monday.
God willing.
God willing. So the board did not want to approve the buyers.
No.
So I spent about 2 weeks, almost 2.5 weeks, going back and forth with the board. The president actually got in a hold of the president,
Oh wow.
right? That's how involved they got, and back and forth as to why or why not they should approve these buyers. Finally, I got it to where I negotiated. Again, it's about negotiation. So you give and you take. Um, we got them to accept them as new homeowners, but it took some work. And if you are doing this yourselves and you are working, you don't have time for that.
Nope.
So you either or you're gonna get frustrated.
And they close by a certain time, and most people
Right.
who are working
Right.
miss that time.
And a lot of people and understand that board members are homeowners of that community that volunteer their time.
Yes.
They do this for free.
Yep.
Some of them enjoy it more than others, but they're condo commandos, as we like to call them. But yes, they do volunteer their time. So there's limited hours in the day that they will attend
Yep.
to your issues. There was a property manager involved. She wasn't really involved in the conversation too much because the president stepped in. But it was 2.5 weeks of back and
Wow.
forth. I mean, I'm not talking about one, or two emails. I'm talking about at least 20, 30, plus phone calls. And that's with the association, the seller, the listing agent. All these people were involved in this one decision. So those are things that we do behind that you guys really don't see.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to talk about, our phone calls and stuff if there's an attorney involved.
Oh yes. Our friendly
Our
attorneys.
friendly attorneys, we love you guys. Um, so, and I used to work with a lot of attorneys, so I have a lot of attorney friends. But sometimes you guys make it difficult. I know your heart is in a good place, but damn it, let up a little bit. Um, anyway, so we got to deal with them. We got to deal with again still the lender, and then obviously at the end the title company, and making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, all while you guys are, hopefully just dealing with the lender at this point,
Turning in your
turning
paperwork.
in your paperwork and doing what you're supposed to be doing, and not really worrying about
Yeah.
much because you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of behind the scenes action that takes place that we deal with, and guess what? If it doesn't close, we don't get paid. We make $0 on that transaction,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully you guys get your deposit back if we did our jobs right.
Yes.
But we don't. All that time and effort is really gone.
Mm-hmm.
And we can obviously start the process again on another property, but we got to start again from scratch. So sometimes, yes, appreciate. I think, in my opinion, humbly, I'm asking you to, yeah, appreciate what we do because it is a lot. And your attorney, if you involve one, they're getting paid up front.
Yes.
They bill you, you pay them. Whether it closed or not. And unfortunately, we don't get that luxury
Until the end, if we get to the
if we
end.
get there.
If we get there.
So we do everything possible to get there because we got to feed our families too.
And then if we have to wait until it funds the bank, it goes through
Right.
the bank, and then we get our check.
And then we get a check, goes to the broker, then we got to wait for the broker, and so it could be a month and a half before we see any return from our investment with that client.
Correct.
Yep. So yeah, I think hopefully more people start appreciating it.
Yeah.
Because we're needed. I think we're needed.
Oh, for sure. There's a lot of things that like you were just mentioning, that I don't think most first-time home buyers are willing to tackle on, right? And fight and argue.
And even the experienced one.
Exactly.
Because you just don't have the time.
Right. Most people have children
Yeah,
and sports and work and homework, and it's a lot.
It's a lot.
And the day ends at a certain time.
Right.
If we do this full time, like you and I do, this is all we do, all we know. We have the time for it. We work for it daily. So it makes our clients' life easier.
And sometimes our days don't stop at 5. I know my
No.
days don't stop at 5.
No.
It's from 7 in the morning till sometimes 8, 9, 10.
I've been up until 11:30.
Yeah. And I'm answering text messages and
Yes.
dealing with other agents and even some of my lenders that I use. And I keep using them because of it. They're still answering my questions.
Yes.
And dealing with, with whatever needs to be dealt with.
Yeah.
So even though it's after hours,
Yeah.
we keep working.
Correct.
So yeah, the next time you see a realtor, say thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you for what you do.
Thanks so much, guys, for watching.